I'm currently living in a really weird time, and I know some of you have actually had to make some really tough decisions this week, and I know it's challenging. And I wanted to kind of really shoot this video to help you kind of give some context to really know who you should be listening to and who you should be stop listening to. And the hint here is that you should start listening to yourself, take the deep dive, and stop listening to some of the biases that may be in your head. So let's get on to the show. Hey there, it's Dr. Laurence Tham here from your Chiro Coach. Listen, no matter what, depending on what city and what state, what country you're in, you might have been forced to take certain decisions that you may or may not like. This video is going to help you, I hope, to give you some frameworks to kind of think this through, but more importantly, to help you take this framework to help you make tough decisions in the future. And so let's kind of get right to it. The situation sucks. No matter what side you're on, it's not really a side, but it's really poorly done in the sense of my opinion, but this is just my opinion. But I think there's a lot of times when we're making choices and decisions, we are conflicted. And the reason why we're conflicted internally is because we have our thoughts, but then you're on top of that, you got your layers of other people's expectations on us. And then you're conflicted by also like, what am I supposed to do? And so this is the first time in a very long time for some of you to really have to force to dig deep inside of yourself and ask the question, what am I doing this for? And unfortunately, no one can tell you the answer. No, I can't tell you the answer. It's not my position because I'm not you. I'm not in your position. No, nor is anybody else. Now you might say, oh yeah, but I have chiropractors in my state and we're all in the same position. No, they're not, because they don't have the same family as you. They don't have the same career path as you. They're not in the same year in practice as you. They don't have the same bills, mortgages, and lifestyle that you have. You don't have the certain type of pressures exactly the way you have it. You got to take all of that into consideration. This is not an easy decision. That's why it's tough, and that's why you're conflicted. And so I hope that this helps you kind of create some framework here and think about who you should and shouldn't listen to. Now, let's face it. In any decision that we make on how we think in our life, you're going to be affected by the tribe you belong to. And the tribe, I mean by the community and the profession that you belong to, say. They can influence you to think a certain way. If you belong to a particular group, if you identify yourself as a particular group, that group's thinking or expectations of you, they would have certain expectations in your head, unconsciously or consciously. Then you also have to consider there's also your friends and your family, maybe your parents or your brothers and sisters, your aunts or uncles, whoever. They have certain expectations of what you should or shouldn't do. And more importantly, of course, there's also, we all live in society, and the society also has certain expectations of you as well, of what you should or shouldn't do. My recommendation here is that I know that it's tough, but my recommendation, what you should be thinking about here is that you should be doing this, is that you should really stop thinking about them. Because at the end of the day, I know, and it's really hard not to, by the way. I'm not saying that it is an easy thing here. But remember, like most of this, one of the things that they're talking about is it's just expectations. And remember, it's not even your expectation of yourself. These are expectations from them. Expectations of other people other than you. And when it comes to a difficult decision like the ones we're talking about right now, that's not really your call. I mean, it's not their call. It should be your call. And this is where the introspection needs to kind of come into play. So let's kind of dig deeper. Depending on the country or depending on the state that you live in, there are certain rules, right? There are certain regulations, right? There are certain laws that you have to follow. These are the laws within, your state government or your country's, country. There's certain governmental rules. There's certain regulation rules that you have to follow. And there's also certain types of mandates that you might have to follow. And the thing is, I'm not suggesting you have to follow them or not follow them. This is not what this video is about. What I'm saying is that you do need to be aware of them, right? You do need to kind of think that they are there. And the reason why it's important is because, really when it comes down to this, right, it's the environment, right? In the environment that you live in. And you can't escape that. Whether it be fortunate or unfortunate situation where you're living, that is the environment that we work under. Being a chiropractor, you fall under those regulations. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to, some people have decided or, they would forget about that profession, and that's fine. Or I'm not going to leave the profession and going to do something else. Or I'm not going to follow those mandates because they're not, I'll just pay the fine. All of that is up to you. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't here. This is not the point of this video, but it all comes down to your risk and how much risk can you tolerate. Now, someone at the end of their career can risk a lot heavier, I would imagine, versus someone who's just starting their career. And so you got to take that in consideration. So if you're a younger chiropractor, listening to someone who's, 30 years in is not necessarily the best advice possible, right? Because they're not in your circumstances. And this is what I mean, that you got to really evaluate who you're listening to, and me included. I'm just giving you a framework. I'm just trying to help here and hope that, if it's helpful. If it's not helpful, don't listen to me. But I think the most important circle that we need to start listening to is the one in the middle. Why? Because listen, at the end of the day, is that you're the only person who needs to really think this through, because your circumstances is the most important to consider here. And the most important circumstances is that you have to decide based on your health profile, right? Is this something I want to do? Now, for those of you who do not want to do this, you already know the answer to that. But here's the thing. That's not the only thing that's up on the table to consider, is it? No, of course not. Because you got to think about your principles, right? And someone say, oh, principles and your values. Well, even then, just looking on that right-hand side, the health and principles, like, I am not going to do this. And I get it. I totally get it, right? But you also got to consider the other side of things. What is my purpose? And can I fulfill my purpose and impact, if I choose A or B or C? I don't know the answer to that in your circumstance because I'm not you. You got to decide for that. What is this all about? What is my life? What am I here for? And what's the impact that I'm trying to think of? What am I trying to do? The other thing you might want to consider is your livelihood, right? I'm talking about your lifestyle, your family. What are you doing all this for? I don't know. And don't let anybody else tell you what your livelihood should be, because they're not your life. What you should be thinking about, that this is your life. You get to choose this life. This is about you. They're not living your life. They don't have your debts or mortgage, or they don't have your life that you want to live. They don't want, they're pursuing other things that you have pursued. They might have certain skills that you don't have, or you have certain skills that they don't have. This is not up for debate whether you should compare and you should follow what other people are doing. This is for the first time in your life. What you got to start thinking about is, what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? Because this is what's going to happen. It's going to be, really comes down to about you. And this is the biggest challenge that all of you are facing, because you got to get back right to this. This is our part here is your element, right? This is about the elemental thing that you have to decide on for yourself. This is about you making the choice that's right for you. So stop listening to everybody else. Try to remove as much bias as possible and dig deep to yourself and go, what am I doing for? What's right for me and my family moving forward? So I know what I might consider doing, but again, you're not me. I'm not in your circumstances. This is why it's such an important thing to ignore the expectations, to ignore the outside noise, and really dig deep to going, what risk are you willing to take, and commit to it and stick by it, and stay low if you need to, kind of thing. Like all of these things, right? Those are all the things that you need to make choices. But whatever you decide, be comfortable with it, know it with certainty, and do it. That's the most important thing. But this is an evaluation on taking the right evaluation, not the wrong evaluation on the outside. I just hope this helps in some way. And reach out if you need help. I'll talk to you soon.